hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. She's over me.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Wednesday evening Paranormal Extravaganza, and hope you guys are all ready and having a great night. And I know Don and I just got done watching Bigfoot Odyssey's live stream. It was a good show and fantastic. And I look on my feed and I see that World Bigfoot Radio's uploaded a new episode, so it's just an epic night for paranormal amazing shows, and I hope we can be counted among them. But I hope you guys are ready, because we're going in. All right, ladies and gentlemen, and we are now live and underway here on the Paranormal Portal. I hope you guys are ready to embark on our journey. Please keep your arms and legs inside of the car at all times as the portal is in motion. We can't be held responsible for lost limbs or any kind of possession or oppression of the supernatural type. So please keep your eyes focused.
Possession or oppression.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. And I'm not alone. That cackling you're hearing in the background is, of course, my good friend and co-host, Mr. Don Longbeard.
That was absolutely hilarious.
Well, thank you.
Possession and oppression. Hold on, I got to do this thing here.
You got to do that?
Yeah.
Going to isolate us from the rest of the world?
Yes.
There won't be any disembodied minion screens
Certainly hope not.
coming down the stairs? Yeah. No.
Wow.
Welcome, everybody, and welcome, brother. How you doing?
It's doing well, doing well. Yeah, doing well.
Okay, we'll just leave it there.
Okay.
Doing well.
Doing well. Apple core.
Apple core. All right. Well, of course, our Wednesday shows are our 2-hour shows, and we get into a lot more
Where does your garbage can go?
behind me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm used to it being over.
Can you reach it?
Yeah. I can.
Okay.
Oh.
There's a Longbeard head behind me.
Okay.
Ah.
All right.
All right.
Anyhow.
All right, we are back, and now that Operation Apple Core is a success, we can move forward with our night, and we do our 2-hour shows on Wednesday night, as well as Friday and Saturdays, but it's great, of course, that Don can be here on Wednesdays and Saturdays with me, because it's just so much more fun for me. Not that I don't have fun every other night, but it's just a whole different level of fun.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm glad you could be here, brother.
Thank you.
There was a huge car accident right in front of my house.
Yeah, you mentioned that. It was
Yeah,
pretty bad, huh?
it was pretty nasty. I was just outside talking to the neighbor, and all of a sudden, wham! And I hear, and the engine's revving.
Right.
And I step out from behind the hedge, and there they are. And I ran over there, and this one lady, she got nerfed pretty hard. Obviously, I don't think she was wearing a seatbelt, so she kissed the steering wheel in a big way.
Oh gosh.
And I'm in there, and she's hyperventilating, and she had a 7-year-old kid in the back of the car, and I was just like, oh my god.
Right.
But everybody was fine, ladies and gentlemen. Everybody was fine. It was just really, I was just like, oh man. It turned out it wasn't her fault either. It was just this truck decided to take an arbitrary left, like, I'm going to turn left now. And she was coming the other way, and either didn't see her or didn't bother, or figured she'd just hit her brakes, something like that, and
Just ran her right over.
yeah. And so it was a big pickup truck, and then like a normal mid-sized sedan.
Oh.
Well, yeah, you know how that works out.
Yeah, it was half the size.
It was. So yeah, I talked to her and got her all mellowed out, and she was not pretty. And I'm not making fun of her. I mean, just literally, she really hit that steering wheel pretty good and split her head open, something fierce. But the ambulance came and she was talking and was fine once she quit hyperventilating. And the kid was absolutely pristine, perfect. He was shook up, but he had a seatbelt on. So thank God. But it was tough to see him.
I'm just going right around the corner. It's okay.
Yeah, well, it was, they were going straight. They were doing the right thing. But yeah, not that this is the traffic report, but it was a, pretty serious part of the day. So
sure enough.
But thank God everybody's okay. Nobody was really seriously hurt. They were shook up, but everybody was fine. So just sending out my best wishes to those people. I hope you all are doing okay, and it's just stuff. As long as nobody's, really seriously hurt, it's just stuff. So, anyway, this is, of course, our live show. We are live here doing this as you're watching it now, which is Wednesday night. If you're watching it after Wednesday night, then it's not actually live anymore. But you can watch it. It's
but we're still on air.
We're still on the air, and of course our phone line is always open when we're doing the live shows and we don't have a guest. And you can call in and be a part of the show if you will call in using the phone number 720-923-0500. Again, 720-923-0500, and you too can become a part of the Paranormal Portal. Like a hood ornament or something. I don't know. I got all these car metaphors going through my head tonight. So, but that's always a possibility. I did get another email in from Beth, but I don't know if I can. It has to do with a video, so I'm gonna have to really check it out. I just saw it popped in. I haven't looked at it, but even if it is, I can't. I don't want to use it on a Wednesday night. I want to use those on Friday, Saturday nights.
Right.
So it'll be after, not this weekend, because this weekend, of course, is booked up. And Don, you'll be manning the ship on Saturday.
On Saturday, that's correct.
You are manning the ship here, and I will be contacting you and hopefully able to stream in and talk to all of you guys. I got to get Skype on my phone too.
Oh, yeah.
I don't have that currently, I'm pretty sure. But
So Paisley blows me away. She's doing an interview driving down the road on her phone, on TFR, on her phone, doing an interview. And the interviewer is like, well, how are you doing that? She goes, well, I've got Skype on my phone. The interviewer goes, wow, you're pretty slick. I was like, I don't know.
Well, that's cool. All right.
So yeah, you're behind times, I guess.
Yeah, well,
So
that wouldn't be the first time that's been the case. But I will be connecting with you, and we'll be bringing you as much live as we can from Coloma and the ghost town up there with the Duke. And so we're looking forward to that journey. And Dan Pruitt will be joining me on this adventure. So we're really excited about it. I don't know. It's a whole lot of unknowns I'm stumbling into. I hope it all works out okay, but I'm really actually quite nervous about the whole thing because, of course, being in the studio is one thing. Everything's all controlled,
right?
Outside of the internets and stuff that nobody has control over. But for the most part, I can control the dynamics here. Mm-hmm. But out there, I mean, I've never done any field broadcasting, so this would be interesting. Nonetheless, I hope you guys are patient with the whole process and. Regardless, Don will have a great show lined up for you on Saturday anyway, but hopefully I can just help make it a little better.
Burr?
Yeah, well, you'll have a show lined up. Hopefully it's a great show.
Well, I'm sure I can fly one if I need to, so it's no big deal.
All right.
But you'll have Dan Pruitt with you, and he'll be able to take care of that particular side of things, and
hopefully,
So
I'm sure Dan's a tech whizzy kind of guy, so he'll be able to bring us to the promised land. But anyway, we're going to be talking about all kinds of paranormal fun and mischief tonight. Which is part of our whole the whole draw.
Yeah.
Now I did want to I got to look for this because Robin Moonshadow posted something and I thought this was incredibly interesting.
Okay.
Let me
do some shout outs real quick.
Please do, yeah.
All right. So in YouTube tonight, we have Bama BF. Hey, there's Barry. Beth, how are you? Mr. Carey with Bigfoot Odyssey over there. We got Black Tree and Duke, both looking good in blue with wrenches. I got Brown Dwarf. Saw your show with Carrie last week, Brown Dwarf. Thanks for doing that. Cameron F. Hey, Cameron, were you the one that called in last week to tell the story about the Spokane Valley and the Bigfoot? Let me know. Chris Guy's here. Dee's here. Ms. Deb Varner. Got Elaine, Gemini, Gentry Code is here. Hi, Gentry. Haven't seen you in a while. Nice to see you here, though. Isaac, Jamie Harms, nice to see you as well. Josh Jacobs, Christy, Sci-Fi Gal, Mongolan Monster, Noli420, Sam Squatch Rivera, Scott Murphy, The Weird Desk US, and of course me down at the very bottom there. So how are you? Thank you all for joining us. You all half you probably came over from Carrie's stream, Bigfoot Odyssey. So that's awesome. Thanks. We appreciate that.
We really do. Darn it, I'm not finding it now. I knew I should have opened it and just had it ready to go, but I thought, oh, I know it. It's on her page. I'll find it. It's like, nope. So what it had to do was the legendary tales the Inuits would tell of these large, hairy people that they would I don't know, had contact with, I guess is the best way to put it. And they described these people as, oh, here we go. I found it. So,
okay, here.
Yep. So it's from the Inuit up in the Arctic, and I'm going to read you this whole story because this is really good. And I'm getting this. Robin found it and posted it on Strange Realms.
Yeah, it was Cameron. Okay, cool.
Okay, Cameron, thanks for letting us know. I didn't even ask him, hey, who am I talking to? You know, it's just like, hey, let's talk. So here's the story that I thought was incredibly interesting. And now they have legends of being living in cooperation with these beings, and they describe them as very shy and very reclusive. However, they said that if you ever spoke badly about them or cast any kind of aspersions at them,
right,
they would come get you. I mean, so let me read through this story and see what you guys think. Now, the cool part, let me get to that on the other side. I'll just read it first. All right, so, oh man, that's a big word. It comes from Cambridge Bay. Cambridge Bay's Mary Avalak says she's no expert when it comes to archaeology, but she knows a good story when she hears one. The Inuit call them the Tuniit, Tuniit. Archaeologists call them Dorset, and the legend of a large but extremely shy race of people has dominated Inuit mythology for generations. These Tuniit, they're nice people, and they're big people, but if someone talks about them, or if you say bad words to them, they'll come after you, or they'll tell you to leave, Avalak said. I'm not much of a Tuniit, I don't know, I'm doing my best, ladies and gentlemen, expert myself, so that's a story I heard. While the Inuit stories clearly state the Tuniit and the Inuit existed in the same place at the same time, archaeologists were not so sure. University of Toronto archaeologist Max Friesen said, a huge and controversial and sort of major issue with the whole Arctic past is whether the two actually did meet, Friesen said. Now, Friesen and his team have used radioactive or radiocarbon dating to prove the scientific community what the Inuits say they've known all along, that the Tuniit and Inuit may have crossed paths as they existed during the same time in history. While archaeologists know that Tuniit lived in the Arctic from about 2500 BC, the new radiocarbon data shows that they existed in the Cambridge Bay area until around 1350 AD. And Thule Inuit, the ancestors of modern Inuit, moved into what is now the Canadian Arctic from Alaska at around 1200 AD. And Friesen said the earliest Thule Inuit site near Cambridge Bay was also occupied until about 1350 AD. We have absolute proof that they did overlap and meet, he said. Friesen has also been partnering with the Kitkomeot, Kitikemeot, Heritage Society to perform archaeological research in the Iqaluit and other sites in and around Cambridge Bay since 1999. Each summer, the research team spends a few days out in the land with elders, hearing traditional stories about the area. Friesen said elders had a variety of stories about the Tuniit. I'm just going to keep fumbling that ball. I'm like a bad running back here. Friesen said elders had a variety of stories about the Tuniit, and it usually revolves around the Tuniit, these earlier people being very large and strong, but also quite shy and reluctant to interact. He said, often it ends up with the same kind of conflict, or with the Inuit simply leaving because they're worried about interacting or what have you. He said that Inuit behavior in the stories often changed depending on where the elders were originally from. They had stories that they had both that had both versions, some with the Inuit and Inuit getting along peacefully for a while, and others indicating conflict between them, he said. In 2000, Friesen interviewed Elder Frank Analok about the Inuit, and it is said that Inuit were afraid of the ordinary people and would run away when encountered. Analok said even though the ordinary people did not threaten them, they would run away. It is said that the Inuit wanted to have a closer look at them, but couldn't. Friesen said, whether Inuit and Inuit are actually interacted is another story, or another mystery he and his team are hoping to solve. There is still very little evidence that proves the two groups were in direct contact with each other, he said. One of the things we do want to do is go back with some of the sites that gave us the very late Inuit dates and also the very early Inuit dates, excuse me, and try to find more evidence to see if we can actually find evidence of interaction. For example, a Inuit house with Inuit artifacts in it showing that they lived together or that they traded or something like that. And it's not certain that we'd find that, but we're going to take a look anyway. Inuit legend already knows the answer to that question. Akavak said Inuit and Inuit intermarried, and that's why the Inuit today vary in height. That's how come some of our people are tall, she said, and that's how come some people are big, is because of that. That may be a true story. I heard that a long time ago. So now this article is coming from, it's an archive, but it's I don't know, some newspaper up in the Northern News Service online, and it's coming from the Wayback Machine. But a very cool story. Now apparently I don't know. I'm assuming these Tuniets are somewhat Squatch-like, is what I'm thinking. Now, it doesn't necessarily say that they're covered in hair. It doesn't really say a whole lot. But that's not the scope of this article to describe them. The scope of this article was to talk about whether or not these Inuit and these ancient, big, very shy people had interacted. And it looks as though that their time does indeed overlap. This article comes from 2016, so that's been a few years now, and I don't know if anything new has come of this, but I'd love to continue following this if at all possible, because it's pretty cool. I mean, we hear about in the north of Russia the Zana story of her being an Alma, which is more of a wild person, kind of along the lines of Bigfoot. And Zana was captured and ended up interbreeding and came up with this whole line of people that were said to be her descendants.
Right.
Now, that's a story that comes out of Russia, and here we have a possibility of that same thing happening in the Arctic North with the Inuit and the Tuniet. I think maybe that's how you pronounce it. It finally occurred to me, Tuniet.
Right, yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah, sorry. I was just totally fumbling with that for a long time. But it's kind of neat that there are variations on that. And, of course, if you follow anything with genealogies and with genetics, it's believed and allegedly proven that a lot of people carry in within them DNA from the what are those ancient people that died off? I've got all these other names floating out of my head, and I can't remember the most obvious one. Neanderthal. We all have Neanderthal DNA in us to some degree or another, which shows that there was an interbreeding going on there as well. So perhaps a lot of these ancient lines of our ancestors are actually part of our current lines in the scope of, was there interbreeding between these disparate groups. And there must be a genetic similarity in order for there to be a descendants of such unions. Right, Don?
Yes.
Do you have an opinion about any of this?
Well, no, not really, because it doesn't surprise me. I mean, especially if you're talking about like ancestral, you're talking about in the Wayback Machine, exactly like you said, the Inuits knew these people. Well, it's just like the First Nations people. They have their stories about their tall brethren, their hairy brethren, their brown brethren, that kind of thing.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's not surprising to hear that. However, it would be better if there was more conclusive type of proof.
Sure.
However, that's me being me, I mean, oral tradition and passed down history is one thing. Oh, that was quite loud. I'll put that down now. And that's cool, because it's the ancestors' history being handed down through the generations.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, somebody's got to, it's like playing the telephone game,
Right.
So, who knows? Maybe it's not so much that they lived with them, maybe interbred, but I mean, that's like two separate kingdoms coming together at a wedding, I mean.
Sure.
So,
but they're pretty unique kingdoms. I mean,
well,
it's
that's
not
true.
like
That is true.
It's not like the people in the village down the road. Now it's a whole different kind of people potentially. True. Now I do want to know what these Tuniats are. Oh, I mean, I don't know. I guess that'll be my the scope of my search next is to try to figure out what were they described as, what were they supposed to look like. Mm-hmm. Could they be what we understand to be Bigfoot now, or some variation of that? And I don't know. I just don't have a clue. I don't know what the Almas or the Almasties were supposed to look like in Russia and the Ural Mountains and stuff up there. I don't know. But they sounded more human than, hairy ape-like beings.
Right.
So I don't know if these Tuniats were the same way. Were they more human-like anyway, but just a larger stature and more primal, or what? I don't know. So I guess I'm gonna do a little searching now and see if I can find something while we're talking, because I think that's an interesting thing to ponder.
Dorset culture.
I'm sorry?
Eskimo culture lasting from...
Let's see if...
Singular tunic. Oh.
So they do look...
those are interesting.
The images that I'm seeing here...
look more like giant.
Right. They do kind of look like giants. Let's see. All right, I'm going to move this over to our screen and put them up so you guys can see what I'm seeing as we're looking at what these beings maybe look like. I don't know. I did the Tuniat spelling, and ladies and gentlemen, I use Ecosia because it's the one search engine that's supposed to plant trees. So I don't know. I just think that stuff's kind of cool. And if what I'm doing online can help plant trees, that's a good thing. But here are images, I don't know, representations, artist concepts. Look at that. This is monographias. I don't know what this is, but these appear to be just more traditional Inuit people. Yeah. But I don't know. I don't know. I guess I'm just showing you a bunch of pictures that came up as a result of this search. Bigfoot evidence. I don't know if they were more human-like like this, just bigger, larger in stature. I mean, if that's a sea lion or a walrus is huge. And this picture is depicting carrying it with one arm. That's a pretty strong being right there. If they're lifting a walrus with one arm, I don't know if that's at all accurate. Maybe this is a good representation. Ken Litt for Little Canadians, the Tuniat Mystery Folk. I mean, if those are the shoulders, my God, that's huge. That's a strong guy right there. All right, so I guess I don't have much to show you regarding this, but it's interesting nonetheless. They could be very much like the Inuits in most ways, but it's hard to know what we're seeing here. I don't know. That wasn't really true research, I don't think. What?
No, I was just thinking, it needs to be dove into a little more.
Sure.
Definitely that.
Dovened.
I'm sorry. Apparently, my computer just decided to reboot itself. So.
Oh well, there you go.
Screwed it right
Welcome
now.
to the portal, Don.
Hey,
is this your
glad
first,
to be back.
Is this your first trip or what? You sound surprised by that.
Yeah, no doubt. What'd you expect, Mister?
But I think that's a really cool story because, we oftentimes wonder what happened to all these these weird relatives that were supposed to exist, and maybe they just became part of what we are now. You know, maybe we are the hybrids of many interminglings through, you know, thousands and thousands of years.
Unfortunately, hybrids doesn't mean, you know, intelligent or, you know.
Well, I don't know. I mean, obviously, you know, the funny thing is that
I mean, collectively intelligent.
Oh no, I mean, well, well, that's for sure. I guess I don't know what to say to that. I mean, yeah, races of people generally can be prone to stupidity and ridiculousness, but people are smart. Can be.
The individual could be smart, yes.
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought that was really neat. I wanted to bring that to your guys' attention because I like pondering those ideas, because to me, we hear about all these different things that once existed. Well, it's like, well, what the hell happened to them? Where'd they go? Right. Did they just give up? Did they just go, nope, we're done, drink the Kool-Aid and call it a day? Or what happened? So the idea that they could be, you know, much like the Neanderthals and part of us, I think that's interesting. I don't know. Just some thoughts. Throwing it on the table there, ladies and gentlemen. But special thanks to Robin Moonshadow and her Strange Realms group for that information. You know, I just think it's really cool. So there's also stuff about the giant squids. So apparently last week, which was published, Robin says it's published on the 4th of July in 2019. Last week, Dr. Nathan Robinson, alongside Dr. Eddie Witter, captured the first ever footage of a giant squid in U.S. waters, ladies and gentlemen. They're here. This is only the second time the giant squid has been filmed in the wild. The first was from Alucia in Japan in 2012. But the sighting of giant squid wasn't the only notable event that day. Hear how they could have lost it all. Mission and scientific research. Anyway. But apparently the giant squids they're in U.S. waters as well. Maybe in Lake Pondere, Don. Maybe that's the paddler.
Yeah, not many paddles there, but I tell you, it's got a few arms.
It's eight of them apparently, and I'm sure they could paddle. But very cool.
Squids have 10.
They do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. That shows you what I know. I don't know.
Octopus have 8.
I thought a squid was like 6, but maybe you're right. I don't know. I don't know what the hell's going on, but they're big. They're giant squid, for God's sakes. They were rumored to once pull vessels to their demise.
The Kraken.
Release the Kraken!
Oh, no!
Yes, Don and I have an umbilical cord connected between us. It's true. We share a brain. We are a hive mind here in the portal.
Oh, no.
It's a really small hive.
It's a really small brain.
The hive's only got a few bees.
Mostly drones.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yes, indeed. But that's kind of cool, though. I think that's really neat. Robin does a great job on her sites. And ladies and gentlemen, if you're into the strange and unusual, definitely check out the Strange Realms. She also has her own blog, and it's strangerealms.net. And you can find it online, of course, because that's where .nets exist. You ever start saying something to realize how stupid it sounds?
Correlation was just uncanny.
I know, I'm just gifted.
Okay, restore last pages. Oh, I'm finally getting back online.
Well, welcome back, Don.
Oh, thanks.
Glad you could be here.
Yes.
And the lines are open, ladies and gentlemen, 720-923-0500. All right, I got a whole nother list of fun for you guys. I hope you're ready. But these are a collection of different events, paranormal events. Sorry, my ear is itching like crazy. I didn't get water out of it after my shower, so. Ooh.
Don't you just love it when you shift
Q-tip?
your head and it kind of sloshes around? You're like,
No, I don't love that. I do love a Q-tip after a shower, though. That's just a little slice of heaven. Not that matters at all, but you guys get to hear it because I got a microphone.
gotta love that Q-tip.
Absolutely. So the first story that I found that is really interesting, and I don't know where it's coming from, but it says, I didn't see it, but I would hear it and smell it. The first place I worked at as a nurse was haunted. In the middle of the night when everyone was in bed, the sound of a wheeled walker would go past the nursing station. Oh, God, that's so creepy. That's so creepy.
Didn't start out real well.
Nope. This was occasionally a smell like unwashed hair that would occur in a corner of the nurse's station. It did not smell like anyone there, and it was the same smell every time. I went walking in a cemetery once in the middle of winter and smelled sweet spring flowers like narcissus floating in front of me. I got back to the car and heard skittering of leaves, and there was no wind. I turned around and the 3 leaves were chasing themselves in a tiny vortex. And I asked who they were, and the leaves fell to the ground. Ooh, that's kind of a little spookiness. The whole wheeled walker walking itself by a nurse's station.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Squeak, squeak.
That's just
Squeak,
not
squeak.
even right.
Squeak,
Yeah,
squeak.
you're right.
Squeak, squeak.
Yeah. I mean, geez, that's so creepy. All right, the next one. Back in 1999, I was staying in a friend's house for the night with a few other girls, and we were standing by her bedroom window smoking. Must have been around, 11 p.m. And across the road, we saw 2 lads we had been in school with walking towards town. My friend lived in a house about 1.5 miles from town. We banged on the window and shouted, but they didn't look, and carried on walking towards town. The next day, we found out that the 2 lads we had seen had been killed in a car crash on the night that we saw them, way before 11 p.m., and they had been playing pool in the village pub and decided to drive into town for a drink, and another car smashed into them head-on about 1/2 mile before my friend's house. Oh, man, that's pretty powerful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine looking out the window and there's your friends? You're like, hey, and they don't even respond, and then you find out they died?
They died.
Oh,
No wonder they just left me here. Wow.
that is creepy. That's pretty powerful stuff, though, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oof. All right, let's see what the next one is. These are starting out really good. I like these. It says, my aunt's Yorkshire Terrier was put to sleep 13 years old because she was riddled with cancer. Wow. And I was at her house about 6 months later, and we were all hanging out on the back porch one night, just chatting and enjoying the evening, and no one was drinking or anything. I went inside to use the bathroom, and as I walked out, I tripped over something furry. As I went down, I saw a distinctly Yorkie-shaped shadow on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't scare me so much as it surprised me because I had no room to second-guess myself on this. I know what I felt on my bare feet, and I know what I saw silhouetted on the wall. Aw, so he's just hanging around, the little fluffy bastard. I don't know. I mean, they're cute little dogs. Their Yorkies are adorable.
Sure.
But you know, I think they do hang around. I believe that, at least to some extent.
Well, sure. Yeah, absolutely. I do too. I
So-
agree.
Okay, you concur?
I do.
All right,
I confer.
you concur.
Con-
I swear there were ghosts following me for a few years in college, and I
Oh.
started to notice that when I was alone, I'd hear little shifting sounds. Just the sound of something moving slightly. Little things would fall off a shelf, but nothing that would break, and it happened at work when I was alone. In my house especially when alone, and just anywhere really. I started to think now and that something is there. However, I wasn't that scared because I thought if it was actually a violent ghost, they'd be breaking things. So I just out loud one day said, you can hang out with me if you want, but you don't need to make all the noise. And then it stopped.
Mm-hmm.
I never heard the sounds for months. Then it started again, and I told my roommate, and she was creeped out. Her friend came to stay one night, and my roommate did not mention anything. Come on, I did that weird stuff again. Her roommate did not mention anything about my story, and the next day her friend says she woke up in the middle of the night and swore she saw 2 Victorian-era looking boys taking their coats on and off. So we figure this must be the ghosts, so I say again, please stop making this noise. You can be around me and play with me. I'll be your friend. The noise has stopped, and I didn't really notice it again. That's odd. I don't know. I don't know what it is about some hauntings. Like they seem very, very specifically centered around an area or a specific area.
Right.
Like for instance, a basement
Right.
or a corner of the room always has a shadow or a cold spot or something. And then you see other ones that are just like there's spirits in a graveyard wandering around, and there are spirits everywhere wandering around, and then you hear like some spirits are just following people around.
Right.
And I don't know what is the distinction. That's what really makes me very curious. But we got a call, so let's see what's going on the call here. And this is area code 509. You're on the air.
Hi, this is Cameron F.
Oh,
Hey,
hey,
Cameron. How you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm doing all right. About to have a smoke. Maybe I'll see something paranormal.
You know,
Well, there you go. Welcome to the show again, brother. Good to hear from you.
It's good to be on. So, last night something interesting happened.
Ooh, do tell.
When I went outside for a cigarette.
Uh-huh.
But before I tell you that, I should probably just mention there's been things that kind of go missing in our house,
Oh, okay.
and they'll show up just not necessarily in a random place, but it'll kind of just be there while you're just suddenly out of nowhere.
Oh,
And last night last night I saw something that I think might be our little house spirit, or maybe Faye. That's coming to mind for some reason.
okay.
I came out for a cigarette, and embarrassingly enough, I had some spit on my mustache, so I went to go wipe that off.
Okay.
And as I'm wiping that off, out of the corner of my eye, I see a blur go right in front of our lawnmower and right behind one of our lawn chairs that's on our back porch.
Oh.
And I stared at that, and I watched the blur, because it was moving to the left.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the blur go away, much like you would, when you're looking directly out at traffic and you see a car go by.
Yep.
That bit of blur that you get.
Yep.
It was just like that. I stood still for maybe a minute trying to, because it's just one of those shocking things. It's like, wow, holy crap, I really did see something.
Right.
And yeah, I kind of gathered myself a little bit and thought, if this is a house spirit, fae or whatnot, maybe I should try and communicate with it. So
Mm-hmm.
I kind of started talking nicely to it, saying hello. I saw you. You can come out. I'm open to all sorts of beings and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
No, not a response, right?
Right.
But I did end up telling it that it wasn't allowed inside the house if I couldn't see it. And I went back inside. I just figured I'm just going to let it be. If it doesn't want to come out and see me, it doesn't want to come out and see me. So went inside, went to go to bed, and while I was laying there, it kept ticking in my mind like, you screwed up. If this is friendly fae, you've got to go tell it. If this is what's been being the beneficial house spirit, because I'm not necessarily sure that some of the things that disappear and then show back up are things that get taken and then get put back. Because I know I've definitely lost some stuff before, and it's kind of felt like I had a little bit of assistance in it. So I'm like, I got to go tell this thing that it's okay to come in the house.
Right. Yeah.
If it's got a good heart and it's got good intentions. So I went out and I spoke to it, but I didn't feel like it was there anymore. I didn't have a feeling of a presence.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of just spoke out loud to my yard, and it felt a little silly, but at the same time, I don't know how to put it. Sorry.
Sure. No, that's fine. I mean, whenever you're talking to what could very well be empty air, it always feels awkward because, in your mind, you're trying to connect with something. But here's the thing. I think if it is some sort of supernatural being, the fact that it may or may not be in your direct vicinity probably doesn't matter, because if you're focusing on a connection and you're sending energy towards that, then distance isn't really important, because I believe that supernatural things are probably, at least most likely, probably deal with some form of telepathy or another. And, that if you sent out those thoughts, I'm sure if that was the case, they made it to the intended recipient. So, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
We're often so used to the 3 dimensions and the physical world that we find ourselves dealing with all the time that, we forget, the dynamics of nature and energy and quantum physics and such, and, the interconnectedness of all of the universe. And so I think thoughts can travel, the length and breadth of the stars. I just don't think that space is real except in our perception.
Yeah. So you know about your pineal gland?
Sure.
Your third eye?
Yep.
Yeah, I squeezing some of the right muscles and whatnot and focusing, I can squeeze my pineal gland and I feel like at least a chemical rush that comes out of it. Whether that's just producing endorphins or whatnot, I don't know. But I've been in a situation in downtown Seattle that I'm not really going to elaborate on because I'm afraid if I speak about whatever it was that
Sure.
it may learn my location.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah, I understand.
But I squeezed my pineal gland when I saw that thing and it fled. So last night when I was out here and I saw that blur, before I talked to it, I squeezed my pineal gland at it as just not an attack like I did to the thing in Seattle, because I wanted the thing was malevolent and I wanted it to go away.
Okay.
I did that with this intention of, hello, I'm here, and I saw a little shadow flitter. I mean, it could have been a moth, but I think that's sort of like our telepathic antenna.
Sure. Now, when you're saying squeezing muscles to activate the pineal is in your brain. So, which muscles are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand which muscles might
it
interact with it.
differentiates every time. It's like I'll tense my body, but I'll feel like a tenseness in like my head when I do it as well.
Oh, okay.
But it's like sometimes it's like butt muscles up my back. Sometimes it's like from my toes all the way up.
Okay.
Yeah, it comes through focusing like right on that, and that's the only way I can describe it is squeezing the pineal gland.
Okay, so it's almost like the cranial sacral kind of thing that you're stimulating the perhaps the cerebral spinal fluid and by essence maybe causing a change in the kundalini energy in your spine or something. That's interesting. I'd never heard of that before, but that's really unique. I'd never thought of that, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely got to do more research into the third eye.
Yeah. Well,
it's just sort of something that I was figuring out. I just figured out I could do one day, and it made me feel better.
Oh, that's
when I was having a lot of pain, and so I practiced for a while, and it really helps you. Like at the time when I was trying it the most, and I had the most activity with it, I felt a lot more connected to the world around me than I did before. I mean, I felt like that same connection when I was a child and stuff like that, and have it other times in my life. But I mean, I was in Spokane Valley, so I was like in the city and stuff like that, when I practiced that, and normally when I feel that connection, it's out in the forest. So to be able to find that, when I'm not out in the forest,
sure,
it's something beautiful.
Yeah, there's no question. And the pineal is a gland. I mean, it is, and so perhaps there is some way that you're triggering it and you're experiencing it through muscle movement. But I don't know. That's a really unique concept, and that's something that I'm really curious about now as well. I'd never considered these ideas.
Yeah, give it a try yourself. I don't think this is. I think this is something that everybody can do. I don't think it's just me or a select few. I've talked to other people about it, and they've tried it. Some of my other friends, and some people I don't consider friends anymore, but and they've gotten at least good feelings thrown through their body. My best friend Dominic's been doing it a lot now, and he said it's been helping him a lot.
Oh, good. Well, I mean, it's very powerful.
Of course, yeah.
That's a very powerful idea.
It's very what?
Very powerful idea that to stimulate that and to be able to trigger it at will. I think it's an incredible concept. And if you figured that out, then my hat's off to you, because that's kind of the elusive the unicorn, so to speak, in a sense. Everybody's trying to figure out the pineal, and maybe you're onto something.
Yeah, I just look up like where the pineal gland is, like in your brain, like a diagram of it, and just like focus right, like kind of visualize where that is in your head, and focus it, and just like, yeah, it's pretty cool.
That is really cool. I appreciate that, brother. And that's dealing with dark things is plenty scary. So I totally respect that you don't want to go into it too much. And there is a belief, in demonology that if you name a demon or if you just thoroughly describe a demon, you can be summoning it. In a sense, so I think you're handling that one right too. So I respect that you don't want to get into it too much, but
I don't think I'd call it a demon. I think a demon's a lot more powerful than a human. Probably, I don't think that thing would have run away from me if it was a demon necessarily.
Yeah, it's hard to know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do believe that you're right. That demons are incredibly powerful beings, but I don't know. I think we are too. It's just. We just don't know it yet. We're still in that development stage that we don't realize all the amazing things we're capable of. But, perhaps if we can tap into it, then, demons won't be so strong by comparison.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of things that we have forgotten over the ages.
Yeah.
I think our reliance on technology has done that to us. We've
Sure.
sort of blinded ourselves with our craft.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think but it's like anything else, and I don't pretend to try to sound like such an expert here, but I think that, anytime you introduce something new into society, there's this great learning curve where people go all the way over to the obsessive side, and it takes a while for us to find a balance again, But I think eventually people will, but we just got a lot of craziness going on right now, and there seems to be a lot of I don't know if I would say individuals, but I would say forces that seem to want to keep us in a state of chaos.
Yeah, it definitely seems like that for sure.
Yeah. Well, cool, brother. It's always a pleasure to hear from you, man. Thanks for calling in again and being a part of the show.
Yeah, thanks for talking.
All right. You have a great night, man.
You too. Bye.
All right. Good night. Excellent. Always good to get phone calls from the listeners.
Right. Well, it's funny. It's funny that he said he was stepping outside because, everybody's been talking in the chat about, smoking, going outside to smoke causes sightings. So it was kind of funny that he said that. And somebody earlier, because your first two stories started off with, I went outside to smoke one night.
Yeah.
And of course Duke says, smoking causes sightings all the time. So
yeah. Well, part of the key to sightings is to actually most of the time get out of your house.
yeah, and someone, I think it was, I don't remember who it was, but they said, well, the cause of sightings is getting outside.
Yeah, good
It's
point.
going outside.
Great minds. Whoever that was, you're
It's
brilliant.
not the smoking, it's the getting outside. Oh, wow. Definitely crazy things.
There's lots of craziness. But
Oh,
I got more of these.
you do?
Of course.
Please.
I got more.
Lead on, my friend.
Well, thanks. I don't mind if I do. Okay, so it says, not something I actually saw, but when I was around 10, we had an old piano in the basement. At night, I would hear the most beautiful music being played on it.
Music doesn't get played in my basement.
Depends on what you call music. I'm not much of a believer in the supernatural, but I've never been able to come up with an explanation. I'm the only one in the family with any sort of musical talent, and not much at that, and this piano was incredibly out of tune and missing a couple of strings. Wow, must have been a hell of a sonata. Next one. Had a coworker I got along great with. We were good friends in the first 2 months of what was going to be a really great broship. It says broship. He was always punctual, so when he failed to show up for work and answer his texts, I had a feeling something was really wrong. That day, I just happened to work until 11 p.m. I had to stay late to finish his work before I could go get off, and I've lived in Michigan and grew up in the country, so when I'm walking at night, I keep my hood on, no music, and I walk home as fast as I can. It was a quiet night, so dark I only saw the smallest twinkle of the stars in the sky, and I get a creepy feeling that I'm being followed, but I don't see anything at all. I decide to stay very alert as I hit the halfway mark going home, and on the way home at night, the last stretch has no street lights. So once I pass the last street light, then I hear it. Click, 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 click. It sounds like a bike. When I turn my head, I see it. It was something that looked like a girl around my height with her black dog beside her. And she has a white skirt, or a white shirt and a skirt on. But it didn't make any sense why she wasn't going to ride her bike home. Click, 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 click. I knew what the black dog meant, and then sped up. The girl had no face as I casually glanced back. Click, click went the bike as she walked with the dog. I didn't run, but instead picked up my walking pace casually, as if I was almost home. I didn't look back again, and the clicking stopped. And as I slipped into my apartment area, I found out the next day that my coworker passed away the day he didn't come in. And I've taken the same route home several times in the year since my coworker died, but not once have I heard the click click of a bike and a faceless woman in white or seen a black dog. Well, I was right. That's too bad. They just made this friendship and it's like, oh, too bad. That's so unfortunate. All right. I didn't believe in ghosts. I'm still really skeptical of the idea of ghosts. The idea we exist after death seems way too optimistic to be true. That being said, I've had a very strange experience. So it starts off with the skeptic's rant and tirade, and then it goes into that being said. I had a very strange experience.
Gee.
I was in college in Chicago, and my friends and I found a weird apartment. The space had been a bar that predates Prohibition, that was loosely converted into a loft. And when I say loosely, I mean there were the dividing walls that didn't go up to the ceiling or separate the rooms. And there was a shower, and they took the bar itself out, but other than that, very little work had been done to the place. There was a creepy as hell basement, and in the basement, there was a turn-of-the-century beer cooling ice vault. It was the big, heavy room, all lined with wood, with a big, heavy door and suspicious hooks and hoses dangling from the ceiling. Sounds like your basement, Don. Now, my room had a closet under the stairs to go up to the apartments on the higher floor, and there was a door to the closet, which was under the taller parts of the stairs. And then there was another door inside that first door into the smaller space under the lower stairs. Behind that door, there was a trap door set into the floor that was nailed shut. All three doors had locks on the outsides of the doors. Curious as to where the trap door went, I looked around in the creepy basement only to find that the trap door in my room led to a space in the basement that was completely walled off, like a room with no door. Oh, that's creepy. One day I was sewing in my room and the closet doors kept popping open on their own. We used to joke that it was a ghost because of the creepy basement. I thought the ghost was just a joke and my closet door kept popping open because of a draft or something. But I kept shutting it and it kept popping open. Eventually I got pissed because every time the door popped open, it would hit my chair and disrupt my sewing. I actually latched the door shut and I sat back down, and right before my eyes I see the latch pop open for no reason, and the door swung open with force and smacked my chair really hard. I was pissed and I stood up and said, "Oh, screw you, you stupid ghost. I'm trying to get work done." And the doors swung shut on their own. and then I saw the latch drop back into place on its own, and the doors never popped open on their own again after that. I feel a little bad. I'm sorry I yelled at you, spooky ghost. I thought I was just screwing around, but if ghosts exist, I yelled at you way too harshly over some chair bumping.
Well,
at least they got a conscience about it.
Well, yeah, they feel bad about telling the ghost about,
Yeah. I mean, that was more colorful language in the story,
Well,
but,
yeah, it was, but
on our radio-friendly show, our family-friendly show, I tried to keep it all friendly. But let's just suffice it to say there was lots of 4 letters in there. All right, another one. About a year or so ago, my dog and I had an encounter with what is referred to as a stick man.
Oh.
It was a bit after 4 a.m. and I was wrapping up some late night work from home, and my piece was done, but there was another team that needed to run through a battery of tests. While waiting on them, I decided to duck out for 15 minutes and catch a smoke. Boom.
Bing.
Tonight's show is brought to you by Marlboro. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking. To catch a smoke and get my dog out. When we got downstairs and outside, I let my dog off the leash so she could go find her perfect spot to pee and poop. Seriously, it takes her forever to pick a spot. While I lit up my cigarette and kept an eye on her. A few minutes pass, and my dog starts narrowing in on a spot to take a dump. Being the responsible dog owner I am, I start walking her way with the poop bag in my hand, ready to pick up whatever foul present she decided to gift the lawn with. However, just as she was about to hunch over and squeeze one out, she went rigid and started growling at the tree about 10 feet in front of her. I kept walking towards her, but looked over towards the tree with no streetlights, and it being the dead of the night, I couldn't make out anything, nor could I hear anything. However, my dog was convinced something was over there, so to get her to chill out before she started barking and woke everyone up, I started walking towards the tree in an attempt to show her nothing was wrong. I think I got within 5 or 6 feet of the tree before it stepped out from behind it and in front of me. It was tall, really tall. I actually had to look up to see its head, being 6'7" myself, and that doesn't happen to me at all that often. Beyond the tallness, it was skinny, like too skinny to host organs. It was way skinny. It was all black too, with no real discernible features, including the face. I just stood there for a second, and so did it. Then it turned around and ran from us in the weirdest fashion, almost like it was floating but still moving its legs. Not a single sound either. I watched it as it effortlessly covered 50 or so yards and jumped a 6-foot fence in a matter of seconds. And then it was gone. Weirdest thing I've ever seen. What the hell is that, Don?
The weirdest thing he's ever seen.
It's a stick man. I've heard of stick Indians, of course, but never a stick man.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's really creepy, weird. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. Sometimes it's bizarre, the things people attribute to being out there.
Maybe it's just an overgrown stick bug. You're not being helpful. William says we should start a paranormal bingo.
Paranormal bingo.
And one of the spots could say, like, I went out for a smoke, you know. And
there you go. It's like the double Jeopardy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Went out for a smoke. Yeah, I got it.
Ding, ding,
Bingo.
ding, ding. Today's double Jeopardy. Everybody get your notepads ready. Today's question is, what is in Don's basement?
A 5-family freezer.
And are they happy there? All right. When I was 8, it says when I was -8 or a tilde and an 8. Yeah, it's really a tilde. Okay. When I was 8, I was outside my school in the car rider pickup line waiting for my parents, and we were all sitting in front of the courtyard area and being a bit of a loner. It says I was sitting there listening for the kids around me talk and play, and across the street was a huge, beautiful old oak tree with a massive plume of leaves that were turning colors of orange and red as fall was coming. Well, I was watching the leaves sway in the wind and listening to the rising and falling rustle produced, and at some point, I think I kind of went into a trance watching the leaves and listening to the wind as everything seemed to fade away except for the tree and the wind. Mm-hmm. It was then that I started hearing a voice. It seemed to come from the sounds of the leaves rustling, but it was also separate from them. It was a whisper that seemed to come from a distance. That may sound cliche, but that's the only way I can describe it. It simply said, "A big one is coming." Wow. A bit startled and confused, I said, I don't understand. And it repeated itself. I said, I didn't know what it meant. And it replied, "You will see." And that was the end of it. Everything seemed to come back into focus, and I told my parents, who were spiritual, and they were a bit concerned but not alarmed. There had been stories of people in our family who had odd things happen to them, and my dad even had a few stories of his own. A week later, I was at my cousin's house at dusk playing with them on the trampoline, and I was laying on the trampoline resting after playing for the last few hours while my two cousins were sitting on the edge talking. The wind started as a light breeze, but then picked up to a steady gust, and it happened again. This time it said, "It's coming. It's coming," and they don't know. And I asked who they were and what it was, and it replied back, "Too late. It's here." And that was the end. About 10 minutes later, the back door swung open to my uncle's trailer, and my aunt started yelling for us to come in. On the news, they were reporting about a tornado that had quickly spawned above a town about 30 minutes north of us.
Wow.
It killed over a dozen people because it spawned so quickly, and there was no warning. I've never had that happen again, and I'm not sure that I'd want it to. Well, I don't know. That's pretty cool, I think. I mean, unfortunately, a tornado happened and people got hurt.
Right.
But just the whole idea of,
something pre-warning you.
right. I mean, so many shamanic traditions talk about speaking with nature. I mean,
Right.
it's just a part of the power and the tuning into the natural energies and
Right.
so forth. And so, is that just figurative, or can you listen and have conversations with nature? Is that possible? And I honestly really believe it is. We know that through science has proven plants have an emotional response to people. Plants will respond to positives and negatives. They will respond to fear. They have these higher emotions that we wouldn't imagine they do, but
Right.
they do.
Right.
And so could they also communicate, and why not? I mean, if they're experiencing all these other things, why couldn't they communicate and how this person is describing? And to me, it doesn't seem that far-fetched, even though, I have Western sensibilities and I tend to be, somewhat skeptical from time to time. But, this kind of thing I think is true. There's been, there's legends going back into all of history of
Right.
people communing with nature and people, becoming one and talking to the spirits, talking to the forests, talking to the plants. And I wouldn't doubt it for a moment
Yeah,
that it's possible.
I don't think it's anything strange, though. I mean, I think that we've gotten away from a lot of the things in nature that we should be doing, and so that could be like, you could say, well, it's talking to inanimate objects like trees and earth and things like that, or that makes you crazy. Well, if you want to go the route of religion, though, it makes a lot more sense than a lot of the things that as I understand the Bible says. But and William just said the Bible tells us to look to nature for answers when we're unsure. However, if you revere them, then it's a sin against God. So, because, it's a difference between, I guess the difference would be revering something and worshiping something. I guess as long as you don't worship it, you're okay. But it becomes an idol at that point. So.
Right.
I think it's a lot. It's more of a spiritual thing than what I find in mainstream religions.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I think that it has everything to do with the shamanic or other, the medicine people, the shamans, the druids, and druidic traditions, even the pagans commune with nature. And so there's a long history from disparate cultures all around the world about people doing just that. I think it's really powerful stuff, and I would love to know how to do that. I would love to know what nature's got to say, and I imagine it would be a lot of screams and agony, but because unfortunately we're not very gentle with
That's
nature,
true.
and that's
That's
really
true.
tragic. But I don't know if there was a way to raise our natural consciousness to to dealing with those kind of things and acknowledging those kind of things, I guess, is mostly what I'm trying to say.
Right.
And even the wisdom that they could hold that has just been lost to our modern sensibilities.
Right. Right.
Perhaps we could become a more balanced society. I don't know. I just think it's a cool concept, and I think that there's there's a beauty in it that's long since been forgotten by our modern sensibilities.
Right.
So
Well, I wonder if that has anything to do with the pineal gland. The
perhaps
calcifying of.
Perhaps it is. Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe that's the key, is the pineal gland.
Light that sucker up and smoke it, and we'll see what really happens.
Yeah, well, you can talk to all kinds of things with the right chemicals, but I'm not sure that's an actual conversation in a lot of cases, but it's been reported. I was in my grandparents' kitchen with my cousin talking about all the important things that 9-year-olds have to discuss, and we were both seated in swivel chairs perpendicular to a hallway, which ended with a door on the left to the cellar and a door on the right to the bathroom. And suddenly I see a white cat waltz across the hall from out of the cellar and into the bathroom. My cousin spins back around and stares at me, mouth open and eyes wide, and she asks if I just saw a cat walk by, and I nod. The two of us get up and walk cautiously to the end of the hallway. The cellar door was closed and latched, and the bathroom was completely empty. I still have no idea what we saw, but it was creepy. And we both seen the same thing. So the fact that they both saw it lends a lot of credibility to it. But, apparently they didn't have a cat. So that's a little weird. Next one, my cousin. Oh, this is so tragic. Ugh. My cousin committed suicide when he was 23. Entire family was absolutely devastated. My other cousin and his sister was his favorite person in the world. About 2 hours after his body had been found, my cousin, who I was with at the time, got a call from his number, and it was nothing but silence and an occasional white noise. After keeping the call going for roughly 5 minutes, I told her to just hang up. A few minutes after hanging up, she gets a text from his number saying something along the lines of, "I'm sorry. I love you. I hope you can forgive me." What freaked us out was that the cops still had his phone in evidence, and this was back before scheduled texting was a thing. Either a sick prank by some cops or something else.
Yeah, that would really suck.
Yeah, I don't think people are going to risk their career to send a stupid text. Hey, let's send a text to the deceased family. I don't think anybody's going to risk their career for a sick joke. Maybe they would, I don't know, but... All right, the next one. I've had a lot of creepy stories and experiences, but I think this is the only one that isn't a typical ghost story. I was about 13 years old at the time. I was home alone, and it was pretty late at night. My family left for something while I was asleep a few hours earlier, so I was just doing some chores while waiting for them to come home. For reference, my back door has a pretty large window on it, and it's raised above the ground level because it leads to our back deck and porch, so you can get a pretty good view of our backyard just from inside. Our lights were on, but they don't illuminate much of the yard, so after about 15 or 20 feet, the rest of the yard is either dimly lit or pitch black. Well, I was doing some laundry and glance out the window where I see what looks like a large tan figure on the ground. At the time, we had a boxer who was pretty large for her breed, so I thought nothing of it and just assumed she was let out earlier, and I forgot to let her back in, so I walk out onto the deck and start calling for her to come inside, and I hear her claws clicking on the floor from inside the house behind me. And whatever the hell is in the yard starts to stand up. It stretches out what I guess would be one of its front legs, arms, and this limb is long, like no way it could be human or a dog long. And it had to be at least 3 or 4 feet long, and its body is super skinny. And it starts raising its head, which is too small compared to how large its limbs and body are, and it starts turning my way. But I book it back into the house as fast as I can and lock every door, lock every lock on the door. And I couldn't see many features because it was in the darker part of the yard, but I know whatever the hell it was inhuman. I could hear the grass and leaves rustling, so I know something was out there, and I don't think it was a hallucination. See, there's another cryptid that just like, what the hell is that? I don't know. And that's the part that really confuses me. And now granted, ladies and gentlemen, some of these could be just creative fabrications. I can't tell you. I mean, I can only tell you that what I bring to the show is represented to me as being real. That doesn't mean that everything is, but for the sake of the show, I just read what I've assumed is real. Now, if these are real, what the hell is out there? How many things are out there, and what the hell is going on? You know?
Yeah, you wonder, because it's starting to sound like there really is a Dr., island of Dr. Moreau out there, because all these things are popping up, we read about, that we don't know what the hell that is, but and Stickman, okay, that may be something new as well. Who knows? But it seems like every couple weeks we hear about something new coming out of the primordial whatever.
Right.
And it's just completely baffling.
I know, because it doesn't seem like there's any scope to it. It's just some arbitrary, Lego experiment from a kid in his basement,
Or China.
Right. But it's just like, hey, let's try one like this and just let it go and see what happens. I don't know. It's just really strange, but all these really weird descriptions are coming out of the woodwork.
Right.
And it's like, can our reality really be that dynamic that there just is this, anything goes kind of plethora of fauna out there?
I wonder if it's got something to do with thinning of the veils, as we've discussed before. Maybe these
That's a
aren't
good
from
point.
our dimension, or our, maybe they're not from our dimension. Maybe they're from a parallel Earth. Maybe the curtains of the veil slapped together and poof, it's one transferred to here and one transferred to there. Kind of like the stingrays that, the 1,500 species of stingrays that Brooks was talking about.
Very true.
Because that's exactly the kind of thing that I would think,
Right.
that all of a sudden, there's an emerging of 1,500 different species of stingray all within 1 year. So... maybe that's what it is. Maybe things are just clashing. Maybe
that's a good point.
This is from inner Earth. Who knows?
Maybe it's multi-dimensional realities that are just bounding into our own. That's a good point. Really good point. Brandon Becker in the chat says maybe these things come into existence from our nightmares. As internet spreads, our minds and thoughts are more connected, producing crazy stuff. That's a great point. I believe both of you are really onto something here, because I really do believe we are creator beings. Like we really can create our experience.
Yes, absolutely.
We just don't realize we're creating every part of our experiences, and we believe that it's just the lot we draw in life, and we accept that.
Yeah.
But we create it. We create it through our expectations, whether conscious or unconscious, or our predispositions or our prejudices or whatever. We create the dramatic space of our lives.
Right.
And so what if that is true, what Brandon's saying, that just by virtue of having nightmares, are we creating things into the fabric of reality?
Well, and that goes to like what I've talked about, like my idea of shadow people, being the I don't know, the clear, the people who, the entities that clear negative emotion and get rid of it, like I say, like I believe, where it comes to shadow people, is that it's created when you purge your negative energy, however you do that. And they're attracted to that negative energy, and they take nourishment per se from that negative energy. And then once you have that release, they go away, you know. And if you purge normally or regularly, small amounts at a time, it doesn't build up to shadow people. That's the way I've always seen them. So, but I think I've always said that I speak my reality. A perfect example is I don't get sick a lot, but when I get sick, I get sick. I'm just just a blubbering mess. But I don't get all these little tiny sicknesses that a lot of people have, there's like one person I know that's always sick. 1 week it's one thing, the next week it's the next, and it's like, wow, how are you this sick? This is something that you're doing to yourself, because you're saying, I'm sick. You're constantly saying I'm sick. So you speak yourself into reality. So there you go.
Very good point. No, I think you're absolutely right. I just see a new name in the chat. Blue Idaho, Trina Fulmer.
Ah.
Nice to meet you, Trina. It's great to meet you. We are actually Idahoans as well. We're from the northern tip of Idaho. But
I don't. Yeah.
Hi, Dana. Good to see you. Dana said.
Yeah, Dana's here. Yeah, she
I got
she
the
came and say yeah.
You said something?
You have this thing about always being on the tip.
Well,
You're
I just don't
you're
want
in
us.
the
I just
tip.
don't want people to think
It's
that
just the tip, don't
we're in
worry.
tater country because we're way north of tater country,
There's
right?
really not too much tater.
I know,
country
but
left in the
Idaho
state.
taters. That's just. I mean, God, one of the symbols of the state is people driving a potato around the country, being about Idaho. It's like there may not be a lot of taters left here, but they're still cashing that check, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They're still rocking them taters.
Yeah. So I don't know, but very cool. It's always cool. Oh, Rick, the Purple Hobbit, is in here. Nice to meet you, Rick.
I think Rick last week was Rick, not Wood Booger Farms.
Yeah. Is this the same Rick? I don't know. The Purple
I don't know
Hobbit.
If you saw my second message about Badge. I just want to clarify. I
Idaho
didn't mean to
Beats is
offend.
more like it.
That's okay, Cameron. Don't worry about it.
No worries, Cameron. I'm back for good. I hope so. I hope you're back for good. It's always good to see you guys, especially those people that have been around for a long time, watching the evolution of the
yeah.
portal. And Dana's definitely one of those people.
Definitely.
Yep, that's me. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I see. I pay
He's
attention.
The Purple Hobbit. Well, we got a dwarf sitting right over here, so the Longbeard is here.
Oh,
Now we go to Hobbit.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so let's continue. Oh,
Sure.
Mogollon Monster. We have heat.
Yeah. We haven't had much of a summer this year up here.
I'm loving this summer. This is the best summer I've had since I've lived here.
It was like 2 weeks of hell, and then nothing.
What do you mean nothing? It's been nice.
I had to turn my heater on today.
You
I
did?
was so freaking incredibly cold. God, I had to turn
Grab
my
some
heater
long
on.
underwear, Don.
No.
Grab your breeches.
Grab your breeches and get out there.
Go out and weed your lawn. I don't know. I'm just thinking no forest fires. Exactly, Duke. That's what I'm talking about. Because I'm here to tell you the last several years that I've been here. I've been here about 4.5, 5 years now.
Yeah.
And several of those have been like orange sunrises and
Oh, yeah.
sunsets because of all the smoke from all the thousands of forest fires all over because it's so damn dry.
And that's not actually something common, though. That's something that's really only been happening for the last 5 or 6 years.
Well,
2015.
just since I got here. Okay, so it's me. I brought that crap.
2015, the summer of 2015, we had so many fires around us that I could step outside into the parking lot at work up in Kootenai, Ponderay, and I could step outside and you would see nothing but smoke. You couldn't see the mountain. You couldn't see Schweitzer, and Schweitzer's just right across the highway. It's like you can't see Schweitzer. So, but it's been getting worse and worse and worse. As a matter of fact, we've had today is Wednesday, Friday and Saturday. Friday and Saturday we had so much smoke up at least where I live that coming over from the Montana fire. There was a Helena fire. Then there was also a fire in Alberta that was coming down. So it was moving like southwest,
Right.
Right over us. So, I
Sure.
mean, we've had them, but
We've had them, but it's not like
we're not having them.
years past. I'd go outside and it smelled like somebody was always burning leaves.
Yeah.
Like in the fall, when your neighbors have the leaf fires and stuff. It's like, oh, it smells like fall. Well, it smelled like fall all year those years because it was leaves burning all over the place. It was like this. We were like in this island with fires all around us, and it's like, really, the air was hazy and gross, and I got a bit of asthma, so it was like,
Right.
stay indoors. Oh, I had a good summer sitting inside.
That's kind of how I've been this summer, though. I hate it.
Well, all right, let's continue our journey into the paranormal. Enough about our
How did we even get there?
Well, we were talking about Idaho and taters, and we ended up here. So, the first one I remember is back in 2016. I was on the patio smoking a cigarette in the dead of night. Boom. This is the Paranormal Portal does not advocate smoking or tobacco use of any kind, just for the record. However, some of our stories seem to cover that, the usage quite profoundly. It had to be around 4 a.m. and there was no noise, sirens, TV, radio. In the background, out of nowhere, I heard someone or something whisper in my ear, "Annie." I jumped up and looked around. There was no one outside at all. I ran back inside and hid in my room. Second one was around that time in my bedroom. I had a dresser with a mirror attached to it. The dresser faced my bed so I could see the mirror while I was laying down, which I guess is important. And one night I was about to go to sleep when out of the corner of my eye, I saw a figure of a man walk past my mirror. The first time I saw it, I passed it off as sleep deprivation or something, but then it started to happen almost every night. After a few nights of seeing the figure walk past my mirror, I calmly said, I have no ill will against you, and I promise not to harm me. You can stay. Which sounds funny if you think about it, but the figure never harmed me. I saw spirit orbs. It was not dust. I could see a bright light moving around my apartment all the time and never once felt fear. More recently, when I was at the ER, my at-the-time boyfriend had dropped me off because he had to go to work. While I was in the room, I fell asleep on my stomach, and I'm not sure how long I was asleep, but I woke up to someone shoving my back. It was a hard shove, too, and I looked around thinking it was my boyfriend waking me up, and there was no one in the room. I put my head back down and felt another shove. I shot up and stayed awake for the rest of the hospital visit. It definitely freaked me out. Lastly, I have a spirit, possibly same one from my apartment, in my home now. I still hear my name being called occasionally, and when I'm home alone, I see a single orb all the time, mainly at night, and an occasional shadow if the lights are on. Wow. Well, they seem to be rather matter-of-fact about it all, so I guess that's not a bad haunting. Those kind of hauntings actually sound cool. I mean, if they're just a presence, a benign presence, then that's fantastic.
So paranormal bingo. So I went outside to have a smoke is one of them. Another one is I made the statement that, if you're here with kindness and love, you're welcome. If not, get the hell out. But so that would be like number 2. What else can we do here?
I don't know.
Elaine says there has to be a story that starts, I stepped outside for a breath of fresh air.
We could certainly edit those for better health consciousness or whatever, but currently there isn't.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right, so the next one. I was staying at a friend's house in a city that's known for having a lot of haunted houses. She's an atheist, a doctor, very smart and very skeptical lady, so when she straight up told me, I'd love to have you come visit, but fair warning, my house is haunted. I was like, huh? But I've known her since I was literally in the womb. We've almost exactly the same age, and our moms are close friends and used to hang out together constantly, as did we. So if she said it, I believed her. She reported a number of incidents to me that I didn't personally witness, but like furniture moving by itself in a locked room, things getting violently knocked over and thrown around, her dogs refusing to go in the basement, and even seeing a semi-transparent human figure when she pulled into her driveway one night. For perspective, it's a pretty small house. It's not very soundproof, so it's easy to know where someone is, and you generally enter through the side door, and that opens into a long hallway. Basement door on the left, bedroom door on the left, kitchen on the left, living room and dining room on the right, bathroom towards the other end on the of the house. The dining room was separated from the living room by a wall and had been the source of most of the stuff she told me about. So the first time I'm there, everything's cool. We say goodnight, and she goes into her room with the dogs and shuts the bedroom door, and I'm getting ready for bed in the living room, and all of a sudden I hear the side door open and slam shut. I jump like a foot in the air, but it's also a crappy storm door, so whatever, maybe there's a stiff breeze. Then the footsteps start. I'm sitting perfectly still on the couch. My friend is a tiny lady, like maybe 100 pounds. Her dogs are medium sized, 30 or 40 pounds, and I start hearing these huge booming footsteps. Like an enormous person wearing really heavy boots is walking slowly down the hall. For perspective, at the time I was in a relationship with someone who weighed about 350 pounds. Wow, that's a big boy. Or girl, I don't know what their situation is, but and wore steel-toed boots most of the time, and even he didn't make that much noise. But they sound exactly like footsteps, and they are definitely coming down the hallway. They finally reach the entrance to the living room, which is almost directly across from the bedroom door. The noise keeps happening, but it stays almost in one place, and I get the distinct sensation that whatever it was is turning around to look at the closed bedroom door. At that point, I finally look up, and there's a huge shadow in the middle of the hall. It takes up the whole width of it and falls over the bedroom door, and I don't know how to describe it at all, but it really felt like I was looking at the back of some shadowy but very solid creature. I'm not a religious or spiritual person generally, but I basically play one on TV. I'm from the rural South. I have OCD, which makes me very superstitious, for lack of a better term, particularly fixating on the idea that something I do or don't do will cause harm to people I love. I don't want to go too much into this because that's not the point of the story, but on pure instinct, I did some good luck stuff, and I remember not being able to look up from the coffee table, feeling like something was pushing my head down, just thinking, go away, leave her alone, go away, pick on someone your own size, just over and over for what felt like forever. Then the pressure lifted, and I looked up, and it was gone. I had a panic attack for like an hour and finally calmed down enough to go to sleep, and the entire rest of the visit was absolutely uneventful. I've never forgotten how scared I was. I don't know how she lived with it. About 5 years after she bought the house, she found out the previous owner had committed suicide by hanging himself from the ceiling lamp in the dining room, and that when she saw a picture, he had been the person she saw in her driveway. She ended up turning the dining room into a guest bedroom. That's terrible. And having the whole place exorcised by a priest. Mm-hmm. She went to med school at a historically Catholic school, and apparently the chaplain did not bat an eyelash. She's still an atheist, but she still lives in that house. But last time I was there, every room had a crucifix in it.
Wow.
Wowzers. That's so tragic, the whole suicide thing. I'm sorry, but my God, get help. Find someone to talk to. Oh, it's so painful. And I think it's mostly painful for those left behind. I don't think the people it may be painful for them too. I don't know. I don't pretend to know what's beyond this.
If you're talking about a successful, I can't imagine it
Oh,
being,
right. I'm not talking about the near misses and having to live with damage, but I'm just talking about the people that actually are able to successfully commit suicide, and the people they leave behind. It's so sad, so tragic, and there's so much that the rest of the people have to lift and carry for the rest of their lives because of that, and it's just such a sad, sad thing. So if you're out there hearing the sound of my voice, please find someone to talk to. If you're in a dark place, please. There's hotlines. There's people that care. You might be thinking nobody wants to hear about my problems, but I'll guarantee you, everybody would rather hear about your problems than your funeral.
And you'd probably find out that there's somebody that feels very similar to you.
Yeah, well, that's true too. Yeah. So reach out, find somebody. My God. All right, next story. I experienced the same day twice. This is the second or third grade. I woke up, had my normal breakfast, and noted that the same cartoons were playing as yesterday, but reruns weren't uncommon. Went to school and was confused why we were going over the same stuff as yesterday, but didn't question it. Review wasn't uncommon, and it wasn't until the end of the day we had an extra 20 minutes, so the teacher was playing Guess the Number. 1 to 100, higher or lower, and you get a piece of candy if you won. So the first round starts, and people make their guesses, and the first number was 50, and that's what it was yesterday. I remembered 49 after, because it was one less, and then 99 because it was one less than 100, and then 35, which was her age. I told her I knew what she was picking because these are the numbers she picked yesterday. She said we didn't play this yesterday, and thought I could see the board, so when it got to 35, she just scribbled on a piece of paper under her hand. And when I told her it was 35, she turned white and said that we're not playing anymore, and we never played again.
Oh, jeez.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. That's a time anomaly, though.
Yeah.
Time anomalies, ladies and gentlemen. It's a very weird
Groundhog's
quirk.
Day type thing.
Right. Yeah. And now here's the thing that really kind of makes it tough to think of things like that, because if you live the same day over and over and over, where is the organic consciousness in that?
Right.
I mean, how is that different than just watching a video game playing?
Right.
You know, if there's so many things that are predetermined, like, does that make, you know, the consciousness, the organic consciousness, the whole idea of NPCs, these people that aren't actually people running around, they're more part of the background of this world.
Right.
And it's a weird conversation. It's a weird idea. But when you hear that woman, this person experienced the same day twice. So that's a glitch definitely in the Matrix kind of thing. Now, the teacher is on 2 separate days, the same day repeating, picks the same numbers. So does that mean that this is an NPC? Is this the definition of what people are calling NPCs, or just part of the background of our reality?
Because they're just going through the motions.
Right. They are performing a part. They don't know that they are.
Right.
But in situations like this, that's really curious. That's really curious. I'll have to save that story and send it to our good friend Mr. Chris Gio, because I think that's incredibly interesting. And that would seem to indicate that either one person has, for whatever reason, gone through time twice, or
There's a glitch in the
or
Matrix.
there's a glitch in the Matrix, and the fact that day happened twice with the same exact events in it,
Right.
would seem to indicate the whole Matrix idea for reality,
Right.
that we are part of a simulation. So, very creepy ideas, very creepy stuff to think about. But what if? I don't know. That one makes my head kind of spin.
Yep. Those ones do, you know,
Yeah.
especially, you know, because like I said, you know, well, I'm not going to get into that. So I was going to start talking about, you know, Beyond the Veil and the show
Sure.
Beyond the Veil and all that, but
Mm-hmm.
it gets too deep at times, so I'm just going to leave it alone.
It is. It's a lot to ponder and consider and to think about. But, you know, what if? What if, ladies and gentlemen?
So there is a website where you can generate random bingo cards with whatever words you want to put on them.
Okay.
So
All right.
maybe do a paranormal bingo. And you talked about doing maybe a giveaway or something.
Yeah, we could attach a giveaway to it if we did Paranormal Portal Bingo. I don't know. I'm not.
It's an idea. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
So
We could just do giveaways
went
and not
for
make a bingo
SIG.
game out of it. I mean, it's a cute idea and all, but I don't know if I'm really huge on the idea. But I like the idea of giving away things for our listeners. I think that's wonderful. What?
No, I typed in "went for SIG" and it actually populated into a thing. So
That's cute.
yeah.
All right. When I was 4 years old, I became afflicted with night terrors. The full-on wake-up soaking the bed with sweat and screaming kind. It continued every night for years, and I noticed quickly that it followed a pattern. I'd be doing normal things with my family, and if I looked away or blinked, they'd disappear. I'd hear heavy footfalls coming closer, and lastly, I'd be chased by what I called the ghost. Not very original, but I was young. Like I said, these continued for years, but I started to notice other things as well. When laying down to sleep, I would hear things moving in the room, but when I would look, nobody was there. It kept escalating. I would hear heavy breathing in my ear and even felt the warmth of the breath. I would turn, and there was nothing. Soon I would wake up from my night terrors, and my blanket would be nearly folded back over my feet. I'd ask my parents and brother if they did it, but they all denied it was them. And one night, I saw a figure walk by my door. It had the body of a human and the head of a dog. The thing was, it was so dark in my room, I couldn't see my hand in front of my face. It was something darker than black. It all culminated one night while I laid there, waiting to sleep. I felt something cold and hard grip my ankles and drag me off the foot of my bed. My parents stereotypically said I was imagining it all, but I was mad. This thing had the balls to come into my world and try to scare me. I was 14, hopped up on puberty, and ready to kick some tail, and I had my night terror like normal, except this time Instead of running, I turned around. I saw this weird little alien thing, like a cross between the aliens from Signs and the typical gray man. It looked shocked, and I channeled all my anger at something that was worthy of a man's full wrath, and I beat the hell out of this thing. I mean, it was a bloody, pulpy pile of guts when I was done. I never had another night terror or visit from that thing. I've also been able to lucid dream from that point on, and I've also had dreams of the future, usually a scene that means nothing but happens around a life-changing event for me. This is all true, though I don't know the meaning or cause of it. Maybe someone can explain it, but I'm 28 now and still have no clue what had happened in my youth. Wow. So maybe that's the deal. If you confront the dreams and you whoop the tail out of them, then you get to, I don't know.
Well, I could imagine that
get
being...
the prize.
Yeah, I can imagine that being, facing your fears.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Now we're at, 8:30? I guess we got about 20 minutes left. The time flies. I've been reading for a long time. Do you got anything you wanted to cover or no?
No, I've been enjoying listening to you.
Okay.
You've been great, having great stuff today.
All right. Well, let me read another one then.
Okay.
This happened today. I just got home from work and was cleaning up my sibling's toys. He has this fairly big Spider-Man building, like a dollhouse, but for Spider-Man. It was toppled over in the living room, and I lifted it, backed up, and headed off to the kitchen for some food, and I hear something fall over and look to see that his toy is again toppled over. Weird, I thought, but nothing of it. Maybe I set it down on some other toys, so it wasn't balanced right. I pick it up again and made sure nothing was under it, and a couple more hours later, I'm sitting down watching TV when I see clear as day this toy fall over again. Knowing damn well I made sure it was balanced upright, I noped right upstairs until someone came home. It's 2:50 a.m. now, and I can't sleep because I think I keep hearing stuff. The next one is, back when I was a kid, I had a scooter, non-motorized kind, that I would ride until the tires popped, and kept riding once Dad replaces the tires. And one day, I was riding around in the neighborhood cul-de-sac when I saw a bright, thin blue line appear in front of me. I rode through it since I had no time to stop, and when I was able to stop, I turned around and the light was gone. I have no idea what the light was, and I've never been able to find out, but I know it was there, and I know I rode through it. Well, good thing you didn't ride through in chunks. It's a laser, dang it! Who put the lightsaber out there? Sorry, that was funny in my head for whatever that's worth.
Oh. Oh boy.
I'm just saying. It's like lightsabers. They look like thin blue lines a lot of times, don't they? All right.
Blue lasers are illegal, aren't they?
That's what DVDs are burned with, so I don't know. Are they? I don't know. There's blue, there's green. Green is the military grade, so... Or they say it's the military grade. I don't know. Why would blue be illegal? Because they cut?
I don't know. I just understood that blue laser...
I don't know. I've not heard that.
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
I think for some reason I have a bad memory, a false memory.
Well, that's been known to happen. I've suffered that myself a few times. So, when my brother and I were really young, probably around 6 or 7, we lived in a small 2-bedroom and 1-bath apartment. One night it was just me and my brother sleeping in the bedroom rather. My parents slept with us on another bed, and we heard a thud in the bathroom. We're both awake, so we decided to investigate, and the lights were on, and I heard clipping sounds from the scissor. I put my ear up to the door, and sure enough, someone was in the bathroom using scissors. I knocked on the door and called out for my parents, but there were no answers. I opened the door, and the bathroom was empty. My parents must have been in another room, but I always wondered why the bathroom lights were on and what I heard. I turned off the lights, and my brother and I ran back to our beds, spooked as hell. That's interesting.
Is that it?
That's the whole that story, yeah.
Huh, okay.
Just a little snippet of weirdness somebody experienced. All right, the next one. This image is burned into my memory, and I'm still not sure if it was a really wild dream, sleepwalking, or if it actually happened. So when I was about 7 or 8, I had a really weird dream where I went outside at night and there were these kids in the backyard. It was a summer night and there was a breeze blowing, and I clearly remember the warm wind and the grass on my ankles. And these kids, I think a boy and a girl, wanted to play, and I never thought of it because I was a kid too, and how cool it was to play at night. So there was something off about them. They had a grayish colored skin and light hair, although still human looking. We played around on the swing set until I looked up at the sky and I see this eye. Basically a giant normal human eye that was green color and looked like it was just projected on the sky. I blinked once, and when I looked down again, the kids were gone. Oh, the next day, my mom swears that either my sister, who had a history of sleepwalking, or me, came into the house after she got home from work at night. Okay. I don't know how that plays into it. I don't know what the hell that means. That was really fractured. The kids were gone, and the next day my mom swears that either my sister, who had a history of sleepwalking, or me, came into the house after she got home from work late at night. I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. I don't write them. I just read them.
God.
I just read them.
Sleepwalking's kind of scary enough.
It is.
But, you know, if you're like walking outside,
Uh-huh.
that's even that's terrifying.
So I don't sleepwalk per se, but what I found what I found that I am capable of is that I'll get up at night like I need to use the bathroom. So
Right.
I go to the bathroom and I'm tired. I don't want to be bothered, but I got no choice. It's like either this or pee the bed. So
Right.
So I go to the bathroom. Now I found that what I'm capable of doing is getting down to the bathroom, wash my hands, standing, and maybe grab something like a grape or something to put in my mouth, because you know your mouth always tastes like hell, and then falling asleep as I'm standing. And I'll wake up like bumping into a wall, like, oh,
What?
swear to God, true story.
Oh my God! And you think my alien hand syndrome's weird?
I'm just tired. I fall asleep.
Wow.
I fall asleep.
You fall asleep from a standing position,
Right, and I
in the kitchen.
I can stay that way. Now I have in the distant past I have fallen after falling asleep standing.
Yeah.
I took some really nasty spills. I once
Wow.
fell into a rocking chair and fell from being straight up and down, fell asleep. I think I was kind of like half awake. I was never fully awake.
Wow.
But I was kind of sleepwalking, and I stopped in front of the rocking chair, and that's where I just kind of like clocked out for the night. And the next thing I know, wham! I fell forward into the rocking chair. It's a wood rocking chair.
Right.
Took the arm of it into my chin, snapped
Oh,
my head
Jesus.
back, and landed on the floor. I was like, oof! Now, I thought for sure I'd
You
have
thought,
bro-
oof.
But honest to God, the weird part of it is, and this is going to sound bizarre, it didn't hurt. I didn't even have a bruise the next day. Another time I fell asleep in the living room.
Wow.
And I remember being up and trying to think, oh, I should go back to bed, and then drifting off. And the next thing I know, I'd like totally like fallen directly backwards and slammed onto the floor.
Wow.
Like all as a flat board.
How do you do that?
I don't know, but I did it. And and
goodness.
again, I after that one, I kind of laid there, and I went, no, I'm okay. So I got up and went to bed. And so
Wow.
I don't know, ladies and gentlemen, I'm all kinds of broken. There's no question about it.
When he falls asleep.
Yeah, I do. I
That's
don't know.
interesting. I didn't know that about you.
Yeah, I don't
Wow.
really share that too much, but now I chose to do it on our show.
Hey,
of all
guess
places.
what? Now it's Paralore.
Yeah, it's true. It's true stories. I don't know what the hell's going on.
Wow.
I'm so tired that I have a hard time sleeping anyway. Sleeping for me is a wrestling match every night. Like I'll sleep for a couple hours, wake up, try to sleep again, and I wake up. I'm always sore and not comfortable, and I just never can get comfortable. And so then I end up just doing these weird things instead of actually being in bed. So
Right.
I don't know.
Hey, our friend Taz is in the chat. She's
Oh, Taz.
nice to see you. It's been a while, so
It
but
has.
it's nice to see you. Yeah. But she says, "Hey, Don and Brent, for a while I've been wanting to ask about how one knows they're talking to a human ghost, and what to say where at one point we have not been elementals ourselves, and what's to say we have not at one point been elementals ourselves." Well, that's an existential question there.
Well,
So how would one know that we're not talking to a human ghost. Well, I guess that's a point of view, because what is human? Is human us driving around this meat sack, or is human the spirit of the person inside?
I'm just curious how you're going to answer this. This is really interesting.
I don't know, because we've
Okay.
talked about it before. We've talked about passing ghosts on the street and not even knowing they were ghosts and acknowledging them, that they're there, so I don't know if there is an answer. But
Well, that's a great question. Is there an answer? And what I would say is, I think there's different orders of consciousness, and I think that the elementals are, as I understand what they would be, is they are more. I mean, they're very conscious and they're very aware and cognition and all of that, but they are more of a functional spirit of our plane of existence. In other words, that's why they're elemental. They're
Right.
Fire, earth, water, spirit, air, whatever.
Right.
They're all encumbered with the responsibility of some part of the reality we live in by definition. Now, a spirit of a person is it's an incarnation in order to progress, is what I understand our condition to be. Like, we're supposed to learn something. We're supposed to grow and develop and hopefully return back to the light or the universe or God or whatever better than we came. We're supposed to be in better shape than when we came. And so, and that's, I believe, is part of, what this is all about, that we're supposed to work towards a higher development. But
Right.
how do you know? I don't know, because can spirits lie? Would you know if you were talking to a demon or a person? I mean, that's the big thing that's gone on forever. And our, demons are a different order altogether, but they are mischievous. I don't know. That's a great question, but all you can, I guess, if I was to give you maybe one answer that might help, it's to listen to your gut, listen to your intuition on that, because, I mean, hopefully you will sense if it's something wrong, if there's something sideways about it or not quite right, that there'll be some part of you that registers that something doesn't feel right on an intuitive level. But otherwise, I don't know, unless you're an incredibly spiritually developed person and you can recognize that's not a human, that is a human. Psychics, of course, I believe can do that. And I believe we're all psychic, but, it depends. Those are great questions, Taz. I wish I had a canned answer for you,
Yeah,
but
I don't think there
that's
really
tough.
is one. Yeah.
that's like double tough to try to figure out. And I honestly, I think that would be a whole series of shows all in itself.
No doubt.
How to differentiate between human and non-human, and elemental and angelic and demonic and principalities. I don't know. Try to sleep on an extremely hard or extremely soft surfaces. Yeah, I think you're right. I think my bed's too hard, Cameron. That's a good point. I don't know. I don't know if I've found the perfect mattress yet. But I think you're right. I think it has a lot to do with my mattress not feeling very comfortable. So what do you do? Just part of the deal. But great question, Taz. Very deep. I don't know. I'll have to ponder that for a long time. Now I'm curious too. How do you know? I don't know. All right. So what? I didn't read this one yet, did I? Okay. When I was 11, maybe 12, I was inside our house's bonus room. It's called a bonus room. Basically just an extra large room. We used to put all of our gaming stuff and a couch and a TV, and I was alone and was sitting or standing next to my couch when suddenly, as if it were really happening right in front of me, I both saw and heard chanting and beating drums as though a campfire with a Native American tribe was inside the room with me. The outlines of people dancing and chanting around a fire and beating drums while spinning around the whole ceiling. It felt like it lasted maybe 20 seconds, and I have never been so awestruck and terrified in my life. I felt absolutely chilled. I only ever had supernatural experiences maybe once before this, and could have been otherwise unsure, but after that I can't doubt it. I later found out that our neighborhood was built on or near Native American burial grounds. Wow.
Ah, that'll do it.
That-
That'll do it.
That'll do it. Now, yeah. You want residual hauntings? That's
the
a
way
good
to
place.
get-
That's how you get residual
that's the way to
hauntings.
get 'em.
Yeah. No, those could be very conscious hauntings too, or it could be a spirit's attempt to explain to the living inhabitants what's going on there. So they do it as as a presentation of sorts, mental images projected into the mind via telepathy, or is it actually manifest energetically in the room? But I think that could be the native spirits or guardian spirits of the burial grounds attempt to explain to the person there what happened in this ground.
Right.
That's really powerful. It could just be a residual thing, but I'd like to believe it was more profound than that. Like there was a reason this person was shown this stuff, is that they were supposed to understand what this land meant.
Right. Huh.
That's just my 2 cents for whatever it's worth.
Das ist 2 cents.
Das ist 2 cents. Unhaugen. I don't know. I don't speak German. Okay,
boy.
so just a heads up. The first story was told to me by family that was around for it. The second I remember vividly. When I was young, like 2 or 3 years old, my mom was walking me down the hallway to take a nap in her boyfriend's house, and I stopped and told her, I can't go there. And when she asked why, I told her, 'cause Baba and Tim are sleeping there. And we all later found out that her boyfriend had killed his parents in the hallway, Barbara and Tim. Oh, God. That's horrible. Oh, no. When I was in second grade, this is the second story. That's terrible. When I was in second grade, I was also going to after-school care at a church across the street. Every Friday, the ice cream man would come by, and one day I was standing by the fence waiting for the ice cream man when a man walked up, and, well, he was more of a shadow than a man, and in a trench coat and a fedora hat. Picture film noir Private Eye style, and I just stood there looking at him, and he kind of waved me over toward him, and I walked over. And about the time I got over, a kickball kicked by a fifth grader hit the fence about head level. I turned around to see who kicked it, and when I turned back, the shadow guy winked and disappeared. I think I met my guardian angel. So he made a move in order so he wouldn't get knocked down by that ball. That's cool. That's a cool story. That first one sucks, though. Oh, my God. Oh.
Yeah.
So she's dating a murderer. Oh, man. And just to think, I just can't even fathom that. That is so gross. Oh. All right. Next one. I saw several UFOs in one night, and it was definitely not just helicopters or planes or stars. These things moved like nothing else. Triangular patterns and near instantaneous jumps from one point to another. It all started when my brother saw a green ball of fire falling out of the sky. We went looking and found a lot. The thing that convinced me was when I saw a spaceship just blink into existence right in front of me and tilt while flying away, and it was pretty damn low, 50 to 70 feet above a row of houses. Totally silent. No wind coming off of it, and the other ships fell into a large triangle behind it. It disappeared again, and I saw black helicopters following its path. But we were on foot and couldn't keep up. The black helicopters, ladies and gentlemen.
Did they okay, so did the description sound like a TR-3B, or was it just a green ball of light? Green ball
I saw the
fire,
green ball of
so-
fire come down, and then it just says he saw a spaceship just blink into existence right in front of me and tilt while flying away.
Oh.
I don't know of a shape or anything. He never really explains a shape. So,
Right.
that's a good point, though, because as closely as the black helicopters were
Yeah.
apparently in proximity, it's like they were
Right.
testing something, doesn't it?
Right, yeah. That's
That's a good point. I think that's probably it. The funny thing is that, of all things to chase a UFO, a helicopter is not one of them. That I would consider to be like,
right,
hey,
yeah, exactly.
get the helicopters. Let's chase that light speed craft. You
Right.
can move all of like 300 miles an hour, and these things are zipping around at 5, 6, 7,000 miles an hour.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I wouldn't use a helicopter to chase them. So, maybe that's a good point. Maybe that's how it's man-made, is if there's black helicopters around the vicinity.
Yeah, no doubt.
That's how they're, observing and measuring and taking a look at what it can do.
I think we should send one over to Carrie's house because he just woke up because he fell asleep.
Carrie fell asleep? Are
Carrie
you
fell
serious?
asleep. Gosh.
Yeah, it's 10 demerits there, Carrie. I hope you're proud of yourself.
he says, wow, I smooth fell asleep. What I miss? The show, we have like 3 minutes left.
Nuts. What did I miss? Everything. I hear you, brother. 12-hour days is a long day.
Yeah, no doubt.
No doubt, brother. It's fine. That's the beauty of YouTube. You can always watch it again.
That's true.
We'll be right there waiting for you. All right. So let's see. What time is it?
It's literally like 3 minutes.
It's like literally 3 minutes. All right. This will be a good, I guess, as good a place as any to stop then.
There you go, yeah.
I hope you all enjoyed our journey tonight through the Paranormal Portal. Please be sure to tip your waitress or server on your way out.
That would be us, by the way.
Tipping the wait. Feel free to tip us. We've served you 2 hours of entertainment, ladies and gentlemen. It was all medium rare. Some of it was well done. Bum. Thank you.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm here all night. I'm just telling you.
Only some of it was well done, though.
Some of it was well done. That's all I'm saying. Not the whole thing, maybe, but some of it.
No.
But I hope you guys enjoyed it. And, of course, tipping is maybe just clicking that like button before you leave
That's
tonight.
right.
We'd love
Sharing it out, yep.
We'd love to get tons of likes and a bunch of shares and let people know the train wreck you just watched for 2 hours here on YouTube. Everybody loves a good train wreck. So I hope you guys did enjoy it. And thank you, Todd Evans. Great stories, great insight, guys. Always interesting.
Yep.
Thank you for being here, Todd. Appreciate it. The Purple Hobbit, see ya as well. 2 days to Ghost Town. You're right, Duke. And make sure to check out Duke Sullivan's World Bigfoot Radio. He's got a new episode out there about Pakwajis.
And Cindy Goodbreak. It's the 31st she'll be speaking. Right?
Oh, yeah. Cindy Goodbreak, 31st, Spokane, Washington. If you're in the area, check out the Bigfoot Conference here in Spokane area on the 31st. Our good friend, Miss Cindy Goodbreak, will be talking, as well as Adam Davies, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Adam Davies will be appearing there, and I'm going to try to appear there as well. Don
if I can get
may
the
or
day
may
off.
not. We're trying to swing Don into that too, but if you're in the Spokane area, check it out. That'll be on the 31st in Spokane. If you need details, message us. We're paranormalportalradio@gmail.com, and we'll get you the details as we know them. But I think that's it. I hope you guys had a good time, and leave comments as well. Not just chat, but comments.
Yes.
And tell of all the wonderful things you observed in the course of this video. So, all right, you guys. Don, anything in closing?
No. Shout out to all of our listeners. The podcast. Check out the podcast 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Anywhere you get your podcasts. It's Wednesday. Hi.
It is Wednesday.
Yeah. For some reason, my brain's numb.
Okay. All right. Is that all you got?
Thank you.
All right.
That's the big one.
All right, guys. Well, love you all. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other. Help each other out. Find the magic in every day, and remember to laugh as much as you can. And I'll be back tomorrow night with
Duke.
some bedtime stories. What's Duke saying?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. All right, guys. We love you, and have a great night, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Good night.